Okay. Forgive the chest here. The mic's pulling the shirt down. So there you go. So Monday, I've just come. I came back yesterday from the Love of Horror, but I was brain dead. So how was it? So I think I'll check and no, do I have it still? Yesterday. There we go. So there we go. This was kind of handy actually, but the problem with it was you had it like that, and to read it, you had to kind of flip it over, but you couldn't because you were wearing it. So maybe a redesign might be in order, but that's just me. So, for the Love of Horror 2024, so I've never been before. So how was it? One of the things I think a lot of people have said to me over the years, it is by far the best run event, and because it's very specific, the guests they get are guests they want to meet themselves. So it has that kind of, it doesn't have the usual, what I would say, Monopoly stuff. You may get to some at the end, but at the moment. So how was it? So one thing I'm going to say is obviously, because as you can see here, even though it is utterly battered, Diamond Pass for the weekend, I didn't actually pay full price for this. What basically happened was a friend of mine who has decided that he doesn't want to go to conventions anymore, had bought a ticket for it, and had effectively sold me it. He sold me the weekend Diamond Pass. So the thing about this that is going to be different is normally when I go to a con, I go as as normal as I can go, basically. So because that gives me the best standard how the con works, because it's a can I do everything I need to do? So I mean, as an example, as you heard in my review of Liverpool, I needed for 4 autographs were needed to be gone, and that took us the entire day. It was a different experience for the Love of Horror, which I will get to in a minute. So I've got it off now. So with this, what I have here, obviously you get in first, which I didn't actually do because I had that, and I only had technically 3 autographs to get on day one. So I was like, I don't need to get there for 9 o'clock. I can, with the Diamond Pass, it's not like a Showmaster's Diamond Pass. So with the Diamond Pass is for one guest, photograph. In Monopoly, a Diamond Pass is more like I'm not going to say queue jumping. That's one thing I'm not going to use. It's priority. So if you have a Diamond Pass, you can queue. So what you did, I'll just tell you this now, is there was a section, like this little tunnel, and it had fast track on it. And you're like, oh, okay. So you would walk up, go to a person, and just as an example, because this is what I did firstly on the Saturday, I was like, hi, David Clennon, which is guy from The Thing, in case you didn't know. This lady would not take you by the hand, but ask you to come with her, put her a little way, over to David Clennon, and there was like 2 queues, big long one, little one, and you joined the little one. And depending upon how it was run, because it did vary between table to table, so in some tables, so this seemed to happen on the Thing ones a lot, Diamond Passes would all go the normal queue. On Dynamite and Shawnee Smith, which is on Sunday, so this might have been an adaptation they made, but what would happen is they'd go Diamond Pass, normal person, Diamond Pass, normal person, which I actually think's better, because you're also moving that queue down. There's less Diamond Pass people. So the interesting thing was, with this system that I effectively knocked out the 3 thing autographs in about 40 minutes. And I was kind of like, okay, do you know what? I'll do Tom Atkins. I'll go get Tom Atkins. So again, Tom Atkins, Potter, join queue, do bang, done. And I was like, well, fuck it then, Linnea Quigley. Linnea Quigley did being join queue, Potter. So I literally got 5 autographs in just over an hour, which was like, okay, kind of surprising to me. I mean, that it works well if you are going to a Monopoly convention and these are available and you want to get a lot of people. Because I effectively kind of thought, in some cases, you could do a decent amount in a day, 20, 25, you could just do it. So that thing, well, this thing, as I'll say, worked well for me, as I said, because, as I said, I didn't get the standard experience. So I would have been intrigued to have tried to get these 5 autographs on the Saturday without the Diamond Pass, and obviously I can't travel back in time, can't do it. So aside from that, what was it like? I'm going to be fairly honest about this. It was the most fun I've had at a con in a while. I think because it's so specified about what it is. Because the cons and like For the Love of Fantasy are very broad, if you know what I mean. I know that sounds daft, because it's a genre, but that word fantasy can encompass quite a lot. Whereupon horror is defined, It's very specific, and some of the guests were pretty good. I think I've got. I think I had Michael Berry, but I decided not to get him, which I do kind of regret. And Joel Powell is cancelled, which is something we will be getting to a little further on down the line. So, it was, as a fan of Thing, as I've done videos on it. It was number 1 on my John Carpenter's video. As a fan of the Thing, it was brilliant, but the cancellations did knacker it a smidge. Because they had this whole Nightmare Machines. I'm on a Facebook group called Outpost 31, which is a Thing fan community type thing. And there was a couple of the guys from that there, basically, and they'd done this incredible display. And one guy had actually brought his collection, which you may be seeing pictures and stuff of.
But you actually insisted on playing the entire part in the costume. I did. Well, I just added back the reasons. What I did was still love saying about the movie. And I remember coming in and the director, Richard, just said, well, if you don't feel that we're going to put a straight, you want to be the outfit, it would have asked you not to use your voice. Now, it's a big job. Because that's just asking for that. Because that's just making the movie days.
Of us were talking. And they did like a big long kind of display of scenes and bits from the Thing, again, which you'll be seeing pictures of throughout this video. There was people as cosplayers, dressed up as like characters from the Thing, the Greedy. Oh god, I got to pull them out now. Blair, Windows, a guy, split head Palmer, a Norwegian, and there was like a thing where the scene where the tie to the couch and everything, and the Thing, and Palmer's head splits open, and they recreated that. Had a seat, and you could sit in it, and they'd put a rope over it, and you could react to it. You might see my picture of it in a minute. But that type of stuff, that specificity of going, here's the Thing, there were prop stuff. I didn't really. I only technically interacted with one. And this is going to get me shit, but I only, after Saturday, because I had Sky, Terrifier 1 and 2 were on there. So I actually only watched the first film Saturday night because I was like, I need to see this because Art the Clown from those films was everywhere. You know what I mean? There was like 2 Terrifier talks. There was about 7 different versions of Art the Clown. I have a picture, which was for the prop one. I think in Terrifier 3 it's set at Christmas. I haven't seen it. I don't know, but there was a Santa Art the Clown. He had a chair, and there was a queue, and you could kind of, he'd do it. So he sat on me. That again, you'll see the picture. But I'm getting the feeling that is like the new thing in Horror the Terrifier series because there's 3 of them. And I think they did a premiere of it on the Friday, just before the kind of like the opening ceremony. But I think the specificity of it allows it to be more focused. Because one of the interesting things about it is, even though I was like, I'm not going to bother with a lot of the talks, I sat through quite a few of them. I think I did the Tucker and Dale one. Actually, I'll get the thing out because I don't want to give the wrong information. So let me just find the talks. So I did Tucker and Dale versus Evil, Evil Dead, John Carpenter's The Thing, and on the Sunday I only did Heather Cosplay Masquerade and Night of the Demons because I hadn't seen Terrifier 3, and even though I was originally considering doing the Sword Talk because of Shirley Smith and Diana Meyer, I was too tired. I went home on the Sunday quite at 3 o'clock, I think 3 or 4 o'clock, I can't remember the exact time. But the specificity of it, I think, allows them to be not choosy with the guests, but they can go, because, I mean, ostensibly, Terrifier 2, Terrifier 3, Evil Dead, Halloween 3 / The Fog, and like other sort of groups of people, like from 2 from talk. So, because, I mean, Monopoly have, like currently being accused in Liverpool of it just now being Harry Potter the convention, because a load of the guests are from Harry Potter. They've done other stuff. I mean, Ray Fiennes has had an starting career, blah, 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 blah. But, people are like, you're putting the Harry Potter pictures up, But that specificity, I think, definitely helps. And also, I think because it draws a certain crowd, so the music that was being played, because it wasn't like Liverpool. It wasn't in 3 separate areas. It was in the BEC, the Bowers Exhibition Centre, which weirdly enough I actually went to for the first Monopoly event they ever did, which was for the Love of the Force, which was the Star Wars one. So I hadn't been back there in a while. And I've got to say a couple of things about that place. It is multi-level. I think there's 3 levels on it. And one of the things I was disappointed by about it was the puppet theatre. I think I said I wanted to see the puppet guys, but they were upstairs in the cantina, and there was no signage, nothing saying these guys are up there. I said to someone actually on Facebook in the group, they should have assigned, because usually with some of the talks there was about a half-hour gap between talks, and what they should have done is just maybe extended one a bit, like a gap, make them come on, they did the thing in Nightmare on Elm Street, and then perform it on the stage to a crowd, come off, next talk. It wouldn't have been a massive turnaround, you know what I mean? And I think if they're going to get them back next year, that's what they should do. Because I thought I really wanted to see them, but I think I found out because they posted saying, "Oh, thanks everyone for coming up to the cantina and watching us," and it was like, bollocks, Another thing I will say that I was really is Lacuna Coil, band I quite like. Apparently, they were playing Manchester on the Sunday. I couldn't go because I'd chosen the convention. And apparently on Saturday, it hasn't been confirmed how many were there, but some of them went to For the Love of Horror. So there's a picture of Andrea Ferrero, who's like the second vocalist, and a couple of the others. I don't think Christina Scavia would have gone, and I think she would have been mobbed. You know what I mean? Be like, oh, you know, a hot Italian lady. But they went, and I was like, bollocks, Jesus Christ, you don't know whether you inadvertently walked past a band member you liked. So what we'll do, so I think I had a lot of fun. Everyone was beyond lovely. I think that is something else that was there because it was leaning into what I would call the metal crowd, because horror has a very strong association with that type of music. So some of the music was incredible, Disturbed, Linkin Park, Alkaline Trio, stuff like that. Really kind of heavy music, and it helped because you could hear it because of the way the building set up. You could literally hear it no matter where you stood. So that really set the tone for the place, which I think also helps it. I think that's why people say it's the best one because it is very focused on its subject. The area itself is focused as well because there's only one floor. So everything you want to get to is accessible. There was also a bar, which had tables, which you could sit at. And there were obviously, as all cons, people all over the fucking place. But that's conventions. That's what happens. So, my experiences, let's say. So let's start with the thing, guys. The reason I was going, and we'll get to... Actually, no, I think I'll start with it. So, when this was announced, I don't know when they announced the thing, guys. I don't know how far in they were. So they were like, we have got 6 members of the Thing cast. I don't know for the first time ever, but so they originally had Keith David, David Clennon, Peter Mahoney, Thomas Waits, Joel Polis, and Richard Musser, which are 6. Aside from, I'd say, John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, they're the only living cast members, I think. And I don't know about... there may be another couple, but this was like the biggest. So I think a lot of Thing fans went, yay, and bought tickets and bought a group shoot. One thing I will say, I didn't buy any photos this time. Shocking, I know, but we'll get to that later. So 6 Thing members, Thing guys, people from Michael were like, because a lot of them are over here. They don't come over here. So there was a lot of kind of excitement. And then Richard Musser cancelled fairly, not massively in, but he cancelled. He was the first to go. And then about a month back, Keith David went. And then literally 24 hours before the con started, Joel Polis cancelled. And I'm going to come to a story about somebody who was very, very sad about that. So you are like, oh, shit. Now, one of the things... I'm going to say, as we, as con goers, know cancellations happen. It is fairly expected, let's say. But I think sometimes, how can I say this? It's irritating, let's say, because it was announced we have these 6 guys, 5 guys, 4 guys, 3 guys. And they have said they are going to get these 3 back for next year, which apparently I did talk to a few people, and they did say, yes, that does tend to happen. They will be back next year. Fine. The thing would be, would you get the other 3 back? Because they've already been, but apparently they had fun. But so the issue was, how can I say? I don't know how to really phrase this because it's such an understood thing that guests do cancel, but when you've said Thing reunion, 6 guys, 5 guys, 4 guys, 3 guys, does it then border into false advertising because you promised 6 people but have only delivered 3? I don't know. I just think that's because there was a lot of, okay, well, actually I'll tell a story. So I was at the Thing display I was doing the Palmer thing, so sitting in the seat, getting the rope. And there was a girl and a mother there, and I took pictures of them, and they very kindly took my photos. And this girl was dressed as Fuchs from the thing. I mean, the goggles, the coat, everything. She nailed the entire thing. So I was talking to them because I was just like kind of geeking out. And she'd only seen the film 2 years ago. So remember that. This is a 40-year-old film. She'd only really watched it fairly recently, and she loved it. And she said she really connected with Fuchs. I don't understand why, but she did. It's her thing. And she was dressed as him because she wanted to meet him in this and talk to him and say how much she loved the character and stuff. And she was seriously disappointed by the fact that didn't happen, which I felt that, I think. I mean, you are you don't want to disappoint people, but this is part and parcel of what this is. But there was also, I'll get to talk later, but there was a lot of that. I was talking to loads of people who were like under 20, 25, who had only really seen the film in the last couple of years and gone, what is this? And I think that's a testament to the film, basically, that it's still drawing people in 42 years later. But I just think, if they get them back, I will go back and get the other three guys, because I will just show you the size of the tube, because I'm not getting it out. So it's like the scene from Spaceballs, it's really big. So I have a print which I'll put a picture of. I have a print that I'll put a picture of there. It's a fairly sizable poster because I originally bought it for all 6 of them to sign, but 3 of them signed it. So David Clennon will do first. Now, all of these guys are not the youngest, let's say. I think Peter Mahoney said he was basically deaf. You know what I mean? He was substantially deaf. And, so I met David Clennon first, who was Palmer. And again, I think three of the 3 that were there were like very happy to see, because I don't think any of them had done a UK con before. I don't know. I'm aware that it has. They have done UK US ones, but I don't think they've ever been over here before. So, so David Clennon was lovely. He, I told them the amount of times I'd seen the film, and I told all 3 of them that I saw it when I was 10. They were like, "Whoa," and all 3 of them we'll do him first. And again, so he's character. I think if I show you any clips, I might, when I get to the talk, I'll show you just clips, and you can see the interactions they had with each other, but he was lovely. He signed on the post. You'll be seeing a picture of it here. Then I moved over to Peter Mahoney, who was Bennings. He was, as he said, deaf, so if he was looking down, he couldn't hear, basically. I just thought it was nice. I said something and he didn't respond, and I was like, is he ignoring me? And then when you found out he was basically deaf, it didn't hurt as much. You're like, oh, okay, right. You just couldn't see my lips moving. So he was again signed. He was like very happy to be there. He told me he was happy to be there. And then out of the 3, Thomas Waits, who some other people may remember from the film The Warriors, which I did mention to him actually, because I was behind in the Diamond Pass, and someone would handed him a thing with the Warriors, and like, the Warriors come out to, and he was like, oh well, yeah, and he turned to me. I'm like, well, this dude was engaged. And he turned to me and he's like, oh, if you love the Warriors, we're going to be playing in Huddersfield tonight. We're going to do a bit about the Warriors at the start. And I was like, what the fuck? He turned back, carried on. I turn up, show him the poster. And he had his arm in a sling. I didn't. I asked him, and he said he'd had rotator cuff surgery, which I will have to ask the wife about. I think, I don't know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? But he couldn't. His arm was in his leg. He could move it because somebody asked him to play guitar apparently on Sunday. So, but all three of them were beyond adorable. Which was like, okay, I think, and all of us Thing fans would have preferred the six guys. I think that, because Keith David, and we're always going to get him to sign the poster. I've got a Destiny 2 poster, which, as I have said, unfortunately, he is the voice of Zavala, so he can now sign that. And I was trying to think if I find something for Mass Effect, because he's in fucking everything. So after that, I was like, right, screw it. As I said, Diamond Pass. Right, I'll go do Tom Atkins. So I can Tom Atkins, Michael Berryman, Linnea Quigley. I think they were all playing on the day. There might have been others, but they were the only three I remember. So I was like, screw it, I'll go get Tom Atkins. And actually, I can show you it here. So when I did LFCC in, 2017? I think it was. I just take the print out, it's quicker. Right, so I met, because Adrian Barbeau was there as well. I'll point that out. She was one of the guests. So we, in an LFCC, I'll have to look back on the vlog. I might put the date it was. So I met them both, and I brought this, an Escape from New York poster. Now, the thing is, it's quite a glossy motherfucker. But so, as you can see, so the Tom Atkins one wasn't too bad, but they both kind of smudged. Something to do with the pens they were using or something. So I was like, I technically have the photo. So that was one of the reasons I didn't take a photo with either of them at For the Love of Horror, because I've already got photographs with them. But I was like, I think I need to to get Tom Atkins an autograph again. And I didn't want to do John Carpenter. So there's a film I am going to be doing a video on. I'm going to start doing a series of films I like that no one else seems to watch. So I had a print from The Night of the Creeps, which if you've never seen it, go watch it. Awesome film. Give him that. And he's a character. Let's say he gave a woman a hug, and I said, well, I feel left out now, so I got one. But again, just telling him, that is actually by far my favorite thing he's ever been. Is between that and Halloween 3. Because he does have quite a biggish part in The Fog. He's a very minor character in Escape from New York. But he's in it, you know what I mean? So those two were beyond lovely. So I then went and met Linnea. Actually, I can actually get this out because it's actually here, but I'll put the picture up of it anyway. So I met the absolute icon of Scream Queens, which is Linnea Quigley. I think a woman who has most probably been some way involved in most boys of a certain age's sexual awakening, because she got naked a lot in film. So, and something I will say about her is I think she's aware of that, because there was 2 pictures on her table that if I held it up on YouTube, would most probably get me restricted, and they were both from Return of the Living Dead. So I met her, and I was like, I saw this movie and I loved it, because I said I got a Return of the Living Dead print, which is there. It is the one of her with actual clothes on, which is surprising. But I just put that down there for a sec. So I was like talking to her, and I was like, my family had no concept of video rating labels, and actually something I discovered again was when videotapes were first released, they weren't rated at all. which could explain a lot, quite frankly. And I was saying to her, that I saw a lot of things at a young age. I couldn't, and I said, I said Return of the Living Dead and stuff like that, and she was like, I've always, when people say this to me about the UK, I always find it interesting. She said, I want to ask you a question because did anything scare you? I mean, you said you watched all the stuff, and did anything have an effect? And I said 2 films, and I went, and it's not going to be the 2 you'd think, because I think most people would say The Exorcist, and I went 70s remake of Revenge of the Body Snatchers. When Donald Sutherland does his thing at the end, that traumatized me and a friend so much we tried not to sleep for 48 hours, and that didn't go well. And The Omen, and she found it interesting because I said to her, I watched it as a kid, and something about it just unnerved me. I could not put a finger on what it actually was, but something just unnerved me about that film. It stayed with me for a while. I think I've likened it to my reaction to the first Joker. It's something in it just sat with me for a few days after. And she was a very happy girl because she was mostly there for Night of the Demons. Because that was what the talk was about. But people did ask her about her other stuff. She's been in a lot of horror films. If you want to go have a look at her IMDb or Wikipedia, just like Jesus Christ. A Galaxy of Terror is another one that you're like, okay, don't show that to your girlfriend on your first day. And look at the woman being raped by a gigantic maggot. There we go. But yeah, so she was absolutely lovely. So then we get to the talks. Which were fucking hilarious. The Tucker and Dale one was actually pretty good. It's not a film I've watched in a bloody good while, though. And then it went to the John Carpenter Classics one, and as somebody once said, not all heroes wear capes, and somebody in the audience asked Adrian Barbeau to do a radio voice, because he said it's the most sultry radio, because a lot of boys back then were like, oh yeah. So he said, oh, would you mind doing that voice for us? And she did it. And there was a couple of other moments like that throughout the talk. So on the Evil Dead one, I would say this, to be honest with you, I think about 2/3 of us in the audience had chills go down the spine, but Betsy Baker from the Evil Dead did the "We're gonna get you," and the thing was, I had always just thought they pitch shifted it, which they must have done a little bit, but it was fucking bang on, and it was like, oh shit, The guy who does the talks was like, oh, there's my PTSD back,
Team on this year.
Yes, we did. Not a couple. This movie is one of the most iconic, influential horror movies of all time. It was hit with distribution issues, it was hit with bans, controversy.
It was one of the video nasties that was successfully prosecuted by the DPP back in the day.
And you all probably have watched it on video at far too young an age, am I right?
Yeah.
We've got Evil Dead fans in the house, right? Paul, bring them on.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming to the stage Betsy Baker. Teresa Tilley. And Hal Delridge. Harvey Dow! Hal came prepared. We didn't get a beer.
Nobody got us a bit after last night. I don't think they want to get me one.
Thank all of you nut jobs for being here. Thank you.
And that was an interesting talk, because they were mostly discussing. They were like very young. A lot of them, it was their first films.
Lying on the floor, and I got to sit up and be a ghoul, to be a zombie, be ready to tear people apart. That was my favorite scene.
I don't have a horror film some background, like rich, like my favorite.
This next Q&A, these are some of the stars of some of my favourite movies of all time. You're all big fans of John Carpenter? Yeah! This next panel is some of the people who've been in some of his best work. It's films like Halloween 3, The Fog. You don't need me to tell you. I'm just going to bring them on one by one, please. Welcome to the stage, Adrian Barbeau. Mr. Tommy Lee Wallace. Stacey Nelkin. And making his little horror return, the iconic Mr. Tom Atkins. Hi guys.
Hey.
There's an awful lot of people here who've turned out to hear you guys talk. We've got David in the crowd with the roving microphone. If you want to ask any of these lovely people a question, throw your hands in the air now, and David will come and find you. I'm going to kick it off with, they've sort of grouped you all together based on your affiliation with the works of John Carpenter. You all were in films with him, or you're friends with him, or films produced by him. In Tommy's case, you're married to him? Yeah, I wasn't going to say.
Only one of us. Only one of us.
I was going to dance around that. Tommy's case, you were in a band with him? Yeah.
More than one.
Okay, I know the Coupe de Villes. Have I not done enough research? What was the other one?
John and I grew up in the same town, so we've known each other since. Naturally, we had a huge backlash, and to finally answer your question, it hurt like hell. It was awful. And the weird thing is that although there were a lot of disgruntled fans, people keep coming up now and saying, I was one of the...
Wallace, Stacey Nelkin, and Mr. Tom Atkins.
And that was an interesting talk, because they were mostly discussing, they were like very young, a lot of them, it was their first films, it was very interesting to watch. And the John Carpenter one was funny, because, Tom Atkins is there, and Tommy Lee Wallace, he actually, because a lot of the questions are about Halloween 3, because I think, that has had a massive reappraisal over the last 10 years. I love it. I think it's a really good film. And even Tommy Lee said, what he thinks without the title, because everyone has always said, why did you just not call it Season of the Witch? Release it out. And he said, without the Halloween title, never would have gotten made. So they should have, he said, they should have tried something different, or tried something with it that made it more obvious that this was just we're trying this for a year. He will be back at some point. Here you go. The Thing one, which I think what I'll do is I won't just describe it. I will just put the clips of it here.
Guys, thank you so much for staying in Manchester. How are we? It is time for your last panel of this Saturday of For the Love of Horror 2024. Really appreciate you sticking around with us. We're going to be talking to the cast of and discussing a little film called John Carpenter's The Thing. Is there anyone here who's seen The Thing? Really? You've all seen The Thing?
Yeah! About 300 times.
So it's one of my favourite movies of all time. Please, give it up. It's your last chance to dance this Saturday. Really loudly for the cast of The Thing. I'll bring them on one by one. Mr. David Clennon. Mr. Tom G. Waite. And Mr. Peter Maloney. Drink it in, guys. The stars of one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yay!
no hyperbole there. We all know The Thing is one of the best horror films of all time, yeah? Have you guys got a lot of questions for these guys? Please throw your hands in the air. We've got David with a roving mic and we'll be coming back and forth the whole panel. I'm going to start, if that's okay. The Thing was a remake or a re-adaptation of an older movie and an older book. Were you familiar with the source material before you got involved with John Carpenter's version?
I heard about The Thing when I was about 8 years old, living in Bronxville. My parents would not allow me to see The Thing. It was The Thing from Another Planet, I believe. But other kids in my neighborhood would act it out. And I got scared just watching the kids from my neighborhood stagger around like James Arnett's. But I never saw the film. I wasn't allowed when it came out. And we all had a screening. John Carpenter arranged for us all to go to a theater on the Universal lot, and we sat there watching the original The Thing from Another Planet.
So John was obviously a fan, and he remade it. He put a scene of it in the original Halloween, didn't he?
Yeah.
So obviously it was on his mind to make it. Did John give you any insight into what he wanted before you were making the movie, or did you just strap in and go for the ride?
Yeah, I think we did. What was your guys' experience?
Hello, yes. I auditioned for the movie like I do for any movie, and most of them I don't get the job. But this one was in the Coca-Cola building on Fifth Avenue, and the audition consisted of improvisation. We had to pretend that we were in a war zone.
Oh, yeah, brother. Get as close as you can. I got you. That's all you needed.
Well, that was short.
Let's talk about the ensemble cast. The Thing, obviously, you said there's 11 men on Outpost 31. There's not a single woman in the film, unless you count Adrian Barbeau's disembodied voice. Were you guys, excuse me, like locked together during the filming? Were you like out on location? It was filmed in British Columbia, is that right? Was it filmed?
We filmed on a sound stage in Los Angeles, except for 2 weeks in Hyder, Alaska.
Oh, Alaska, okay.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of bonding going on?
Screening of it on a big screen. And the first time I saw it, I was so self-absorbed, you know. I don't think I don't think I saw it for what it was. It's going to go down in history as a seminal moment in film because of John Carpenter's vision. The music, the cinematography, the acting. You know, I was okay, but all of the acting. And most interesting to me was the ending. That it's sort of nihilistic. It's like, we're never going to get out of here. And then, you know, Keith David takes the bottle and goes, well, let's just see what happens. And I think that's such a great, he takes a drink of whiskey. It's such a great irony that he leaves the audience with. And it took a lot of courage to do that for a filmmaker. And I think that's what it will go down in history as a seminal moment in film.
Peter Maloney, Tom G. Waits, and David Clennon.
You want to stand up and go wild?
Yep.
So yeah, they were fucking hilarious. I don't even think Peter Mahoney was present. There's one of the clips you might have seen. I don't know if I'll put it here. I might put it here, we'll see. Is there was a girl there, very youngish girl, and she had... And it took her about 4 minutes to ask the question, I'll be honest with you. On the clip, you'll see, she basically just says, I love this film so much that it has defined who I am as a person, which is an amazing thing, I think.
It surprised me, but I thought it was something so amazing and so well put together that I fell in love with it. And then it just became this whole part of my life. These past few years that I've known the movie, and I've known like all the actors in it and all the characters, and I've written about it, I've drawn about it. It is such an important part of my life, and I don't think I would be the person that I really am today if I hadn't seen this movie. But on to my question. That's really stupid. I was wondering, I'm not too sure if this question has an answer, but I was wondering, who do you guys think was the first person to become a thing? Because I personally believe it to be Palmer, who was the first, but I would really like to know what you guys think.
Who do you think was the first? Thank you. What is her name? What's your name? Honor. I've met Honor already, and I'll try to keep it short. I think that because I was inside the film, forget about these guys, because I was inside the film, I didn't know how it would affect people who saw it from the outside. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
When you're inside it, you don't really know how it's going to affect people. And so I think it's touched so many people, but I didn't expect that to happen. I think that's, when we were making it, I'm not going to ask the other guys what they thought, but when we were making it, I had no idea that it was going to touch people like Honor. Shut up, shut up, shut up.
It's hard to tell which is the first one to be infected, because you could be infected or you could reveal the fact that you have become this creature. But I think that I was the first one to be infected because the dog got me in the very beginning of the film. Jumped up on me, licked my face, wouldn't stop bunking its nose against my forehead. It was taller than me, and I think that's when I got the virus. What do you think, Tom?
I think that makes sense. That I always thought it was Bennings, but I'm so grateful that the film affected you that way. I think it's a brilliant, wonderful film, and I saw it last night for the first time in a long, long time, and I saw it on a big screen. And these guys, their acting was so just precise, you know, and a person that really stood out in the screening last night was Joel Polis, the guy that plays Fuchs. Bravo for Joel, yeah?
Yay!
He underplayed that character so methodically and helped build the tension. I just thought it was a wonderful film. Forget the horror part of it. To me, it was was a wonderful film.
To hear as an actor or someone who's been in something where they say, this has affected me in such a way, it's changed who I am. And I will say this, the mother of the girl who asked the question basically said that Peter Mahoney asked, so he came round the side, and because of where they were, he asked someone to call her over. And he thanked her for it. He just said, thank you for, he had a quite chat, and this girl explained more about, and I just thought that was astonishingly sweet little man in a horror convention, but there's blood everywhere and people are caked in it and there's guts and and there's this little girl going, thank you, that will change me, so that was a very sweet moment. I might have put the clip in here, but so that was the end of my Saturday. So there were two things that seemed to pop up on the after discussions on the Saturday. So number one was people were saying they think diamond passes had been oversold because at certain people the diamond pass queue was almost as long as the actual queue, and because you get priority. So I think. So the second one I might have led into the first one, which was apparently Shawnee Smith's queue was a disaster. It actually got so bad that near the end of the day, all the people who were in the queue at a certain point were basically given free entrance tickets for Sunday to come back and get an autograph. I don't know what happened, but the proviso of the thinking is because there were so many diamond passes sold that because ostensibly they get priority, they all went and held this queue up for ages, which I think is why they did you, because that just seems more fair because you're still getting priority, you know what I mean? So that was an interesting thing because that had me worried for Sunday because I was actually going to be meeting Dana Meyer and Shawnee Smith on the Sunday. Now, so went home. Had a horrible time getting home. I am not discussing what happened that night. But all I can say is a 20-minute journey took me 3.5 hours. That's it. No more. Don't ask. So Sunday, I was like, right, I only have two people. I want to photograph the cosplay masquerade because I've always done that at cons. Something I always like to see. So I didn't actually arrive till 11 o'clock. So I didn't have this normal convention thing of having to get up at stupid o'clock and queue to make sure I got the autograph because the Diamond Pass removes that. Because you could walk somewhere and go, hi, I want to go meet this person. Right, off you go. So first things first, we'll discuss what I did. So I came in, sat down, and I'm going to have to look now. I'm sorry, I can't. I think it was Heather Mazzarano, but I'll just check. Yes, it was. It was Heather Mazzarano, who most people know from things like Saw, but as was mentioned, The Princess Diaries was mentioned in the talk, which I was like, yay! Because that's just, you've been in Saw, you've done The Princess Diaries. That's a varied career. So, that was a good talk. She was very, I'm going to say, actorly about it, because weirdly enough, she wasn't asked a lot of questions. The guy, I felt he had to kind of carry it, because the dude with the mic was just kind of looking around, and nobody seemed to have their hand off. And I was like, do I? I know nothing about your career, but I feel bad for you, But the talk was okay. It wasn't like the peak, but it was fun. She did make some good jokes. She was engaged, let's say. So then we did the cosplay masquerade. Well, actually, it was 2 parts of cosplay masquerade. So they had the first half, which was the traditional walk on, bounce around on stage, walk off bit, which while I'm discussing this, you will just see street. I took about 300 photos at this bit. I won't show all of them because that will make this video about 8 days long, but you'll be sent out prizes. And the guy who won, I will put his picture because it was incredible what he had done. I did wonder how he etched his ass, but that was just me. And then they did this thing called the Creep Show, which was a kind of secondary thing. They only introduced that year, and only one person won. So it was like one and done. And what would happen is there would be introductions to put amount of time to make an impression or scare people, get off, next person, and the music wouldn't change. It would just be continuous song or whatever. So everyone came on. A lot of the previous people from the Cosplay Masquerade were also in this. There were some new people as well. And my actual highlight, I cannot remember, little girl, I cannot remember who she was. I know her older sister was Annabelle. I can't remember who she was. I think she was supposed to be Chucky's bride, Jennifer Tilly. I cannot remember the name of it. It's going to bug me now. And the lady who was running the cosplay is called Lady Monopoly. In a Monopoly Yvette's Harley Quinn thing, I thought was pretty cool. Said to this girl, "So, is there anything you want to say on the mic?" Put the mic down, and this girl just looked at her and went, "No." And actually, there was a lady in the Cosplay Masquerade who had done an original character with a skull and everything, and it was incredible. And they were like, "Oh, hi," and because obviously if you've got a mask on, the mic doesn't work here, so they were trying to like put it in the mouth of things or under. And so this poor woman, this Lady Monopoly, kind of put the mic towards this skull lady, and the skull lady just went clomp and put her mouth over it. I will put pictures of that because it was fairly funny. But it was a pretty fun thing. It was like a fun event, So it was a good masquerade. I thought it was handled pretty well. There were 3 judges, and it was pretty cool. That's all I can really say about that, to be honest with you. So did that, did the Night of the Demons, and then I was like, right, I will go get Shirley Smith and Dynamite. So Dynamite's lunch was massively, I think she left a 1:45, was coming back 2:45. So I was like, okay, fine. So I went to the queue, and I was like, "Hi, Mrs. Smith, please." And she's like, "Well, she's just trying to clear out that queue. You can come back in about 20 minutes. Yeah, fine, cool. Put it away. Had some pictures of cosplayers, which again, you will most probably see while I'm talking about this. I came back. Hello. So, hi. She's like, "Oh, yeah, you know what? I think they're putting people in the queue. So, I said, let's go. Oh, all right, cool." So, so I was like, kind of walked up, so put us in the queue. There was only 2 or 3 of us, but this was the queue. They would go, you, yeah, then you, then you. So, met Shirley Smith, and I handed her. I won't show the actual card, but I've got a set of Blob Lobby cards. I actually bought these from Big Screen Autographs a while ago. Because I thought, I'm going to meet her. I wanted to hand her something from the Blob because everybody was sore. It was all sore from what I saw of the queue, which is one of the things she's most known for now. But I was like, I want to go back and, so I handed her the card, which was, I won't show it yet, but I handed her it. And there's always been this kind of apocryphal tale about there's a sequence in that where she walks in and her boyfriend, he's one of the first victims of the Blob, and he's being absorbed by it. And there was this apocryphal story that she didn't know what she was walking into. They didn't tell her. They gave her no warning. And so when she walked in and saw it, it was her actual natural reaction to what she was seeing. And I said, "Did they do that?" And she's like, "Oh, God, yeah." And I said, she grabs his hand and it comes off and she falls on her ass. And I was like, "Did you know the arm was going to come off?" And she went, "No." I was like, "Good grief, they wouldn't do that now, would they?" And she was like, and she said, "Yeah, people have said it does seem a little cruel, but the reaction alone was priceless. That's what they wanted. They wanted my instinctive reaction to it." So the funny thing was, she signed the card, and I will explain this so you get a picture. But as you can see, there is a large blob-like thing here. All right? Now, my theory is this, because she did kind of go, oh. I think what she was doing was she'd written her store character name so often, she was instinctively starting to do it. I don't know what her character's name is. I think it's A. It begins with an A. I can't remember. So what she did was she basically got a load of paint pens and put a blob over the mistake and then wrote her character name on it, which I was like, thank you, because I don't think you're going to get that on many of her autographs. But she was, again, just very happy to talk. And I think, again, when back then, she was most probably quite a few boys' crushes. Like I said, there's most probably a load of guys here who were like, ooh. And another thing I actually thought was cute is when I was going to the guy to get, like, because, you had to go, here's my ticket, this is what I want. Do you want to pay for a selfie, whatever? Somebody came up the side. And it was about a 20-year-old girl, and she was so happy. She was all bouncy, yay! And I was like, that's kind of, I miss that reaction sometimes. I think that you're just so happy to have met someone you love from a film. Because I think one of the things with going to cons a lot is you become not cynical, but it becomes a bit more standard. If you know what I mean, it's not as exciting. So Shawnee Smith went away, went to the woman, and by an astonishing miracle, Dynamite would come back early. And so it was like, well, do you want to go? And I was like, okay, of course, fuck it. So bing. I don't know if I still showed this because I didn't do a video on LCC Winter, but I got a Starship Troopers poster signed by Denise Richards, and I always said the joke I said to Denise Richards, and I actually said this to Dynamite, that anyone who watches Starship Troopers, the first time, the enemy is the bugs. The second time, the enemy is the military-industrial complex that they're all in. And then the third time, it's Carmen. Everyone hates Carmen by the third time they've watched it. So I went to Dynamite, and I was like, I said this to her. And I said, one of the things I've always wondered, when you read it, were you sad you were like, oh, I'm gonna die. Did that affect how you viewed the film? And she said, no. Weirdly enough, I was actually originally brought in to read for Carmen, but when I read the script, I felt more towards Dizzy's character than Carmen. So she said, I said to Paul Verhoeven, can I try for Dizzy? And I think Paul Verhoeven made the right choice. And I can show you a picture, but she actually put a quote saying, at least I got him. Which I was like, oh. But again, she was, again, just lovely. Just absolutely, again, happy to talk the arse off you if you let him. And she did. So, effectively, came out, and that was it. I was done. That was just 3 o'clock, 3:30, I think. And I was like brain dead, because it had been a fairly interesting 48 hours, let's say. And that was it. That was the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a very quick, not negatives, but just something that concerned me. So, industry standard, as far as I've always been led to believe, in most conventions, and even Monopoly do this themselves, is autograph, photograph, same price. Unless it's a duo, a costume, or a group shoot. Fairly standard. So if it's 35 quid, it's 70 for a photograph and an autograph, which a couple of people had for the love of horror. But there were others. So a fair portion of them, the photograph was £10 more expensive. And in 2 cases, Shawnee Smith and Keith David, I may be wrong here, were at least 20 quid more. So if I remember, Shawnee was 35 for an autograph and 60 for the photo, which I was like, oh dear, that's not good. That's not good at all. So if somebody can, someone's bound to say, oh, agents and stuff like that, but it just seems a little weird that the autograph prices are staying, because people are saying they're getting expensive, but they're staying standard. But now the photos are beginning to creep up, which is not good. I'm not a fan, but I am going to say this, and this is at the kind of like end of the video. It was a good event. I'm not going to say that it wasn't a good event. I had a good time. I didn't have a standard standard kind of as I would normally have. I think when I go back next year for the other three fingers and whoever else is there, because I am going back, which I think says it all, I may go standard and just to see if it's possible, because I know I'm not going to knock them all out and out. There's no way as a standard autograph holder. If I can afford a diamond pass again, I can. Someone wants to sell me one, feel fucking free. But yeah, so that is ostensibly it. It is a good event. It is fairly well run, which, and as I have said many times, I'm not the biggest fan of Monopoly events as a whole. But this one impressed me. This was, I think when people say it's the best run event, I do actually feel they're right. They are actually right. It is the best one. And what they should really be doing is taking this and putting it in other places, in the sense of what we do here, we do here. But I think because you can't specify a Comic-Con as much as you can with the horror one, because it's so focused in on that genre. So, thanks very much. 51 minutes. I guarantee you some of this will be being edited because I coughed my arse off for the first 6. But thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoy it. And if there's any leftover video clips, I'm going to put them at the end now. So, thank you very much and goodbye.
Demons fan. I'm going to do that again because my mic even had a nervous breakdown when I picked it up. If you're a fan of Night of the Demons, would you please stand up?
I'm already standing.
Hey! Wow! We love you, Manchester. We love you. Thank you so much for coming. What a ball we're having.
Yes, barely.
There you are. Really excited for this next panel. I hope you've got plenty of questions. You've been a little bit quiet this morning. I want to get some energy in the room. Are we feeling it, Manchester? A little bit better than that. Manchester, are we feeling it today? You're all really hungover. No. Party too hard last night, we all did. Very excited to introduce this next guest. Please welcome to the stage the incredible Heather Matarazzo.
Doing pretty well, how are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I'm feeling a little bit delicate today, but we'll get through it. We'll be fine.
Delicate flower.